we're already into episode 2. That first episode flew by, I feel like.
Yeah.
Just reminiscing about all of the, things that led us to that point of where we're at now, like right here, is pretty crazy because now I'm like emotional thinking about it and reliving those times because, how we ended, it was like, where do we go from here? What, what do we do? And, you know, like I said, being a first time mom and the financial side of it, I remember us sitting down and I was like, okay, we're going to have to make a decision on where we go from here with the furniture refinishing or, you continuously working, which was steady. And it was something that we could rely on weekly. It was always a guaranteed paycheck. So I just remember when we sat down and we were still so scared. I was like, no, we're just going to have to see where it goes with the furniture because every sale was different. The money was different. We still weren't, charging near what we were worth.
Every client was different.
Yeah, every client was different.
Every wood species was different that I was having to learn to work with.
Well, and also
the challenges that came with
exactly, and adding it into the budget monthly for all of the supplies because, the more we were doing, the more we were spending.
Yeah.
And we had to invest in tools and all the stuff that we weren't really expecting.
Right. I started coming at you like, hey, we need to start spraying. Right. And that came with some big expenses.
Yeah, it was really, I remember being terrified when you showed me the prices and you were like, oh, we're not going to use we're not going to use this cheap latex paint anymore. Right. Or, we're going to do something better. And that's when we started using, Sherwin-Williams and stuff, which again became more costly. Yeah. So I remember just telling you, okay, here's what we're going to do. Now that I'm not pregnant anymore and we've had our daughter, I am going to start doing it during the day while you're at work.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, do you remember?
Yeah,
I was nails. Like,
that's all I could think about.
I'm gonna start doing it because I helped you create it and had the idea of it, when we were doing it out of the garage and stuff, and when we first started.
Sure.
But I really wasn't like hands on as obviously with the baby, right. And I was like, I could make this work. I've seen you do it.
Yeah, you did. You made it work.
Yeah, I
was honestly shocked, and I'd come home, I'd be like, the hell are you doing?
I know. I was like, I actually just kind of like threw this together and I really like it. And you're like,
hey, but every time it would sell immediately. And that's what would get me.
Well, and I think,
and then it became like a competition almost.
Yeah. So, okay. That's what I was saying. It was a competition for me because I was like, he thinks he's better than me at this. Like, and I had the idea. So I kind of was like, I'm going to master this or at least try to. I mean, so I remember when, I would get him really down and I'd be like, okay.
Pack and play. Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's some Cheerios. Here's a bottle.
No, but so I remember bringing the pieces though. Do you remember me dragging them into the living room? And
the nice hardwood floors
and having the drop cloths down.
Yeah.
And I would text you a picture and be like, this is what I did. Like, but it worked because I was like, okay, I'm taking the stress off of him,
right?
To where he could still work and we could financially, I felt like, okay, it made sense financially, to still do it on the side.
Yeah.
And,
I didn't realize all the stuff that, not that I had taught you this stuff, but the fact that you took the initiative to, help me along the way and
exactly
learn so much.
Because I was like, listen, we have people now that, we have this Facebook page, we have these orders coming in, we have this furniture that we've invested in, and it can't just sit here.
Yeah.
And I was a stay-at-home mom, bored out of my mind, and I was like, I'm going to help. And then I started learning how to market.
Yeah, but let's not let the viewers get it twisted. You have always been the brains behind the operation.
Well, that's what I was just getting.
Right, of course. I just wanted to let them know, right, from the bottom of my heart. I want to let you know, Haley is the one that has basically thought of this all. She's dreamt every little thing, every little detail up, and she's the one that converses back and forth with the clients,
Well,
right?
I just didn't
She
want,
handles everything,
I
right?
just remember thinking to myself, this is something, this, I'm not going to give up on this now. We've already jumped into it full force. Like, I'm not going to just give up because, Tyler's working 40 plus hours a week, or I just had a baby, or, I was like, we've got to find a way to make this work.
Yeah.
Um,
Thank God that I just so happen to be good at manipulating these coatings and making them nice and buttery smooth. I mean, that's all I've got going for me at this point. And making babies, honestly.
yeah, well,
Those two things.
so then, okay, back to that. Now we're talking about adding more
Hey,
babies,
I'm all over the place.
but what I just remember, so we made that work for a while of me doing it during the day, and then you would come home and you would work on something, and then I started really getting into the marketing side of it because I was like, okay, I've got to navigate the Facebook world, and I knew how to do that on my personal. Like, I feel like I posted a lot and kept up with a lot of people, so I knew how to post, like, and what to post. But just, marketing our services and what we could offer, I knew that, it had to be on point, like, to make people want to book us. And just showing our side of, like, the before, the during, the after, the process, like
The stripping of the furniture, the soda blasting whenever we got into that.
exactly
Stripping everything
showing
down
the
to the raw
behind the
wood.
scenes.
Yeah, the prep work, the stuff that the
When
normal average person, the DIYer, didn't want to do. We
Yeah,
felt like that was
but that's
important
what
to
I'm
show.
saying. When we really started leveling up and really putting our all into it, like, it was no longer just, okay, here's this furniture and I'm going to make it look pretty for now. Okay. And it might not last.
It's going in the back of someone's truck.
Yeah. Or it might not last even me a year. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? But at least it looks good for now. Because we did have that mindset at the beginning. I
Of
was just like,
course,
listen,
right.
Tyler, I just need you to make this look good for our house.
Right.
Like, but then it shifted to where, the more I got involved in doing it and the more research I did,
Right.
I was like, no, there's a right way to do this,
Right.
And to really offer a service that no one around here offers.
Right. And just doing it right from the beginning.
Exactly.
Right.
So then there's no hiccups. And I mean, there's always hiccups, but I'm saying, like, there's no complaints of, like, here's this cheap piece of furniture and they painted it for us and it just didn't last. Like, I didn't want that. I didn't want that to be our brand of.
Well, and at that time, even at a young age, we realized that doing the right thing will get you further. If good
Exactly.
things happen to
Exactly.
people that do the right thing.
Exactly.
And we've always believed that.
Exactly. And yeah, so when I told you, okay, we're going to invest in the right equipment, and then we were able to start charging a little bit more.
Yeah, once we started getting a nice sprayed finish over a brushed and rolled finish.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. It shifted.
Right. Started actually using, like, a good primer, sanding the primer, filling the holes in between the primer, sanding in between primer, all those things that we learned to actually get to that level.
Exactly. Exactly. But growing, just knowing that, okay, this is our baby and we're going to provide the public with the best.
Yeah.
And took.
And with what started as just refinishing our own furniture, ended
that's
up
what I'm saying.
giving people our absolute best finish on their existing furniture, which in return, they were just so shocked and blown away.
Exactly.
With the fact that we could do that.
Exactly. And like they said, and we heard so many times after, I mean, at this point, we were already 2 to 3 years into it.
Right.
If you think about it, because I was doing it by myself basically for about a year and marketing it, and you were helping as much as you could, because you were still working. But then when it really got to the point where I think it shifted financially for us to where we were like, okay, we could do this full time, is when we started getting that word of mouth, those
Exactly.
recommendations.
Well, and then we could look at the percentages, right? We could look at the repeat clientele, the
Exactly.
people that were coming back because they just absolutely loved the
Exactly.
work that we were putting in on
And
their.
they saw I think they fell in love with, though, and that's back to what I was saying about the marketing side of it. I think people really did fall in love with, okay, these are two young adults that had a vision for themselves and their home, and here they are now. I mean, we were full force, like posting daily transformations, like for people that we had never even dreamed of doing work for.
Not that because we had something to prove, but
Exactly.
because we
We had a
actually
love, like a
we loved
love
what we
for
were
it.
putting out there. We loved
We
what
were,
we were
yeah,
providing
so proud, so
for our
proud
clientele.
of what we had started and
Exactly.
seeing it change. I mean, it was changing weekly, the
Yeah.
business side of it. I remember telling you, on the way home from work, I would say, we've got 4 orders that came in today. And you're like, wow, babe.
You know what the coolest part for me was along the way and going, through the levels of, the finishing and,
Yeah.
getting all the right equipment and all that,
Mhm.
but just the clientele. Seeing
Exactly.
the different
And
types of
hearing the
clientele along the way.
stories, but hearing the stories also, because
Yeah.
we've heard it all.
Right.
I mean, if you think about it, we have literally,
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
we've
I
had
I come
people,
across some new crazy stuff. I mean,
okay, yes, but I'm
let's talk
saying,
about
even,
last week.
I'm
I mean,
saying,
let's not talk about that actually.
but I'm saying with like furniture,
Yeah.
think of all the pieces that we have touched
Yeah.
and
Ugh,
how
yeah.
old they were. I
Right.
mean,
Yeah.
we found letters from like the 1940s,
Oh
and
yeah.
we
Pulling out
found,
drawers. I love it
yeah,
because I
pulling out the
find
drawers and finding their great grandma's like scarf, and they're like,
yeah,
oh my gosh, like
the old
this means
pantyhose
so
and stuff
much
for
to me.
me. God.
But I'm like, it means so much to them
Oh,
what we're doing. And I
yeah.
think that's when we realized,
That's when I give them their social security and all that stuff
well,
back. They're
yeah,
like,
that
"Well,
too.
thank you,
I'm
sir."
like, how do you not know where that's at?
Well,
But
thank you.
how is that in the back of your dresser?
I'm like, hey,
But
figured
no,
you
I'm
should have it.
saying like that's when it hit me, I think, when the clients, we were doing this beautiful work for them and they were just so blown away.
Yeah.
And it made them so happy because they were like, one, I would never attempt to do this myself because it's sentimental. And two, the fact that you were able to save it and now I can, cherish it. I can continue to cherish it with the look I want. But a lot of what we were getting was sentimental items.
And the clientele that were bringing that in, I was scared, honestly.
Yeah, I
You
remember
know
I was like, oh my gosh, like, are we ready for that side of,
exactly.
because we were meeting so many people that really didn't know us from Adam, besides, hearing from so and so that had furniture redone, or they found our
They
Facebook.
saw the work and they wanted it to look similar, or they expected something that was a grade A finish, and we had to meet those expectations every
Exactly.
single time.
Exactly.
And the fact that once we provided that level, the
You could
the
never turn back.
right when
There was no
the
more.
look on their face and the expression that we get whenever we provide that to them, and they absolutely love it.
Exactly.
It's just
But that's when we
heartwarming.
had to have that conversation yet again of, okay, we've been doing this now.
Yeah.
Our family's growing financially,
Why not just go all in?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Why not let's just
take
go
the
all
risk.
in?
Even
Yeah.
though we were so scared, I think it was, if we don't do it now, we're
We're never
never going to
going
do
to.
it.
Yeah.
And
We're always going to continue to
and
just
now these people are expecting it from, what I mean? Now we're growing a reputation where if we were to end it now, it wouldn't make sense to people.
and
They would be like,
we had the
oh,
conversation.
they just faded away.
And we had the conversation that, if I'm working throughout the day,
Mhm.
how am I putting 100%, like I'm telling the clients, into their furniture,
Exactly.
into their pieces? Am I really putting forth 100 or maybe 110%, like I want to say, right? I want to
Exactly.
give all of me to the people that are, providing for me and for my family.
that are paying us.
And that's how I've always thought.
And that's when I think we realized that, okay, our clients mean more to us, and the growth of this business means more than you trying to
Climb
climb
some
a
ladder
ladder that we ultimately knew
that
you
I
were
could
gonna
fall off of anytime
exactly, or that you were gonna cap out at,
or
and
get burnout.
or get burnout,
Yeah, and
or
then wonder, okay, is the grass greener on the other side doing this or that?
well, and also it was again too,
Working for this
we
guy or
like I
that
said,
guy.
growing our family. At that point, we were like, you're away all the time, and then you're in the garage, you're working on this furniture. What quality time are we really getting?
Right.
I mean, the good of just taking that risk outweighed, the bad of like being in the unknown,
Right.
or and that's when I told you, like, if we don't do this now, we're never going to do it. And it's going to be 5 years from now. And we're going to look back and be like, wow, we did have a really, really good idea and we had a good thing going, but we let our fear of, just keep us from doing what we love.
Right.
And,
So can I ask you a question? So
well,
like, who was the client that you could think of that just really turned it around for you in that time? Who's one that you could think of that just made it to where, okay, we turned around their furniture, um, and they just absolutely appreciate what we've done for them, and made it to where, okay, we're here.
oh, that was
Um,
definitely Glenda.
Glenda.
Glenda. Oh, for
Okay.
sure. I mean, do you remember she moved back from Florida and she had just lost her husband, and she was in a really, really dark place.
Right.
And I remember she saw Kelsey had tagged her on Facebook and said, "Hey, they've got a dining room table and chairs. Do you
Yeah.
remember? It was
Okay. Yeah.
whitewashed."
Yeah.
And I remember she was so appreciative of you and your work and the fact that you delivered it to her and you moved it inside for her.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, we were doing the absolute most, moving stuff inside
exactly.
after
I mean,
already picking it up, purchasing the furniture,
mhm.
refinishing the
But
furniture,
just giving them
posting it.
that
Yeah, of
experience
course. That's what it's all about.
and I think that's when it changed for me, because
Yeah.
I was like, there are people that really do love and appreciate what we do. Not only did we save her money, but I mean, she was struggling at that point, at
Right.
that time, and it brought her joy.
It
It
provided a solution that
but it
worked.
brought her joy to see a beautiful dining room set. Like I said, she moved back from Florida. She just moved into her house. It was unfamiliar.
Right.
She was just trying to get everything together. And then just knowing that a piece of us that we did
Is now going to
is
be a part of her forever.
now a part of her life and her home. And she was so appreciative of that. And we've had clients that I mean, it's like that 99% of the time, and I can comfortably say that. Like,
Right.
there has never been a time, honestly, where I've left a client's home, or we've finished a service, or we finished a job, where I feel like the clients have said to themselves, "Oh, they didn't give 110%," or "I'm not sad." Like, I can confidently say that that's never happened.
Right.
And
Part of it's because,
it's
in the
because
background, you're on my ass like, hey, you've got to give your all every
every day.
single time,
Yeah.
right? You've
Well,
got to get up and go to work.
That's
You know
the
what I mean?
thing too, is about our relationship. People always ask us, how is it working with your husband? How do you work with your husband? Like, I could never.
We make it work.
And I'm like, listen, okay, there are some times that I will drop the kids off at school.
Yeah.
I will walk into that shop and I turn into full blown manager mode, like
Right.
boss,
Momager mode.
like, this. And I expect a lot of you, but it's because I know what you're capable of.
It keeps me on track though. Like sometimes I'll be
Exactly.
thinking this is how I need to do the system.
And I'm like,
And she
absolutely
comes
not.
in all sideways like, hey, amigo, do it like this, that, and the other and see what happens. And I'm over here like trying to like think like, no. I've been thinking about this like all day. I've been sanding my heart out, right? Doing it this way. And then I start to think along the way, if I just listen to Haley, it's always worked out in my favor.
That is true.
So,
But what I'm saying is like we always get asked that. I mean, I do at least, from friends and family and stuff. Oh, how do you work a day in and day out with Tyler? And I'm like, I think it truly just works because we make it work and because we both have, I mean, this is our baby. This was our first baby.
right.
And just going through the motions of 7+ years of business, and just like I said, I know what you're capable of. So that's why, sometimes I'm like, Tyler, it needs to be done this way, or
And you expect probably more out of me
than I would have
I
worked.
do
That's what
myself.
I'm saying. Well, and I also expect more out of you because we created this together.
Right.
And I'm like,
You're what keeps pushing me to become more.
well,
and
I
become
don't
better.
no, I don't want to take all the credit. I
That's
don't
what
want to
it
take all the
really is.
credit. I'm just
That's what it really is, though, straight up.
But also what I'm saying too is back to the whole client thing is that's when I knew that we had to make the decision for our clients to offer them a service that is not offered by anyone else here in town.
Right.
But then I was like, there's more to it than just furniture. We can open doors, to other services.
The service that we were providing was not only good for furniture, it was
Exactly.
good for other.
I was like, if we can do your furniture, we could do your kitchen cabinets, we could
Exactly.
do your trim, we could do your
front door,
yeah,
right?
that we walk into.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The first thing you see when you
It is
deliver
the
their
jewelry
furniture.
for your home.
Exactly.
In
But-
my opinion, it shall look gorgeous.
Well, but I'm saying that's when we were like, okay, let's go all in, but let's also offer more.
Exactly.
So then we don't have to worry about, okay, if furniture's slow,
Right.
then let's pick up other services, offer other services.
And
it
let's
balances
expand our
out.
horizon.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Let's not just cap it at furniture and it be the end all.
Let's broaden the scope here.
Exactly. And there was, like I said, a demand for it. We got asked every day when we would deliver something or someone would drop something off. Hey, do you guys, do this or do you do that? And you were just kind of like, I mean, I can, I can do that if you want me to.
Yeah. And here
And
I am.
I love the people. I love the people that really did give us a chance because they knew, they had never seen that on our Facebook. Okay. I'm like, you're like, yeah, I mean, I can try. And I just laugh thinking about it now because, in the back of their heads, they're like, okay, I've never seen him do that I've never seen a transformation like that. Yeah. So, but they trusted us,
of course,
and they said, okay, I'll give them a shot. Yeah. And we still have clients that contact us, that we did work for 5-6 years ago when we first started, changing our services.
Yeah, you're always like, babe, you remember so-and-so with the dining set? And I'm like,
or the exterior door that you paint. And I'm like, yeah. And they message that, or they'll send us pictures of each season, like them changing their reef out or changing their decor. They'll send us a picture and say, hey, like just thinking about you guys. Yeah. Like they still follow along. So I'm like,
so cool.
The client relationships are just second to none, I feel like, when it comes to how blessed we are with the clientele. But it's also because we are offering something that's so unique and it means so much to them. I mean, the house that they live in is the most important.
It's their biggest asset.
Right? Exactly. And they trust us with it.
Exactly.
And I think that's so important. So when you asked about the clients, now I have a million running through my head right now. I'm like, I wish I could shout them all out.
The next one that came to my mind mainly was Tammy. Let's talk about her and our experience and how it all came about. Because it all started with some sentimental pieces
that were in a flood. That were in the flood here.
Really, really good story on this one.
And so I remember I was sitting in here actually in the office and a notification popped through and she just liked our page.
Yeah.
And I'm like, great, like a new follower. Awesome. And I saw that she was commenting on a few of our things, saying how, amazing our work was and she'd love to work with us. And I was just like, okay, I think she'll be reaching out soon. I remember telling you like
And you probably did some spying. You're probably like, who is
yeah,
this
I was
Miss
like
Tammy?
I was like I've never heard of her before. So
Right.
then the message came through around lunchtime and
Ding.
yeah, and I told you I was like I knew it. I knew she was going to message.
Oh yeah. Your
And
intuition. You just something was telling you.
well, when
Tammy was like, Haley.
yeah, well, when she
Haley,
kept saying like,
listen.
"Oh, this is so amazing. You guys are fantastic." I had an inkling that, she probably had something she wanted done or interested in knowing more. So when she messaged and she's like, "I have these pieces. They're my mother's. They were in a flood. I don't trust a single soul." I mean, she flat out said that. She said, "I've had them for years." I mean, you're thinking the flood was in 2008. She didn't reach out until 2022. So she's had these pieces in her possession for that long, just sitting because she didn't trust anyone with them. And she said, "I've seen your work. I've heard about you guys, and you guys are who I want to restore these pieces."
And right away, I'm like, this is my clientele right here.
Exactly.
This is who we want to work with.
Exactly. And so I remember setting it all up, and we were so, like she said, just the timing alone, we got her right in and we picked up.
Yeah.
And I remember you telling me how beautiful
I got to meet Tammy. I got to meet her husband.
Exactly.
I saw their beautiful home.
And the furniture was so gorgeous. And I remember thinking, these pieces have sat and have not been able to be used
and they deserve
and loved because of the failing finish currently.
Right.
And
they deserve that old to new refresh that
yes.
I knew instantly once I saw them, and once I took your wording and your visions that Tammy had. As soon as I saw them, I knew that we could take these pieces.
Exactly.
We can transform.
But
them,
also another thing to, like Tammy and I had discussed, a lot of people would have just given up on the pieces.
Of course, they would have just thrown them right in the trash.
Especially
not even thinking,
and not even thinking, I'm probably never going to find someone to restore them. And she obviously didn't want to even attempt, So she could have just put them in storage to never be seen again, or gifted them to someone, or like you said, ended up in the landfill, and we would have never met her.
Yeah.
And the connections that we've, received just from having her as our client and as our friend also.
Yeah.
Like the relationship that we have developed just by delivering on our promise to restore them. And as soon as you brought them back to her, as soon as you delivered them, I remember you calling me and saying she was bawling. And I said, "Wait, she's
crying?"
I said, "Is she upset?"
Time
Haley, can you pick me up Chick-fil-A and bring it to me?
I let Haley do all the work, I guess.
Yeah.
However, whichever way you want to look at it, I didn't eat. I'm going to eat. We're all right. We're going to be all right. Man. So I delivered the furniture back. She was just absolutely bawling. No,
and you called me. I remember you stepped aside and you texted me and you were like, "She's crying." So I actually want to hear it from Tammy's perspective.
Yeah, of course.
On, the side of the story when the pieces were delivered.
Yeah, Tammy.
Well, can we go back to the fact that I stalked you two pretty hard before I made that initial phone call? And so I knew immediately when I was seeing the pieces that you were posting that these were really well done. So
exactly. And those were pieces that can never be made. I mean, will never be made again.
Know that like working with Tammy has been absolutely wonderful. But what about those horror stories?